one of the lessons on texturing, we talked about how to join two objects that are separate into one object. I'm sorry, we talked about how to split one object into two different objects. Sometimes you need to join the objects too. So let's look at how you do that. Here's an example of just I just have a clean new Blender window here. And let's say I also have a mesh sphere. Okay. Now right now these are two separate objects. I can join them in two different ways. Okay, one of the ways is just with a straight join. And what I do to join them in this way is I select one object, I hold down Shift, and I right click the second object so that both of them are in pink. And then I do a Shift J, or I'm sorry, I do a Control J. Now Control J brings up a question that says join selected meshes, and I say yes. Okay. Now that I've done that, you see that both of these objects are both named cube. And even though they're separated by space, they're one of the same object. So if I texture this, it's going to texture this in the same way. If I grab this, it's going to grab that. If I do S and I grow the size, it's going to size both of them together. Okay, so now I can move, I can do individual points on this by going into the edit mode and then doing A. And just like before, I can draw a box around these vertices and grab them. And obviously that doesn't affect this. But they're one and the same object. This is the same as just changing the bottom of one object but not the top. Okay, so that's one of the ways to combine two objects into one. It's with the join one, which is Control J. I can also, let me start over with a new Blender window here. I can also make one object the parent of the other. This is a little bit more complicated, but it'll come in handy if you go further in Blender. So again, I'm going to add a mesh sphere. Oops. Add mesh sphere. Okay. And this time I'm going to click on the first one, and then I'm going to hold down Shift and click on the second one. Okay. Again, I'm going to do Control P, which brings up something that says make parent. And I say yes. Okay. What this line does is it indicates that these two objects are parent and child. And let's talk a little bit about the relationship between parent and child. First of all, the second thing I clicked is going to be looked at as the parent. So because I clicked the sphere first and the cube second, the cube is the parent of the sphere. If you move the parent around, it's going to, like, so for instance, if I grab this, it'll also move the sphere around. Let's say, for instance, this is the body and this is an arm. And then later I want to move the object. You'd hate for me to have to move the body over and then the arm over. But in this case, because I've parented the arm to the body, as I move the body, the arm comes with it. But I can move the child and the parent doesn't move. Okay. So again, if I wanted to move the arm around and readjust the arm, then I maybe want the arm to move independently of the body. If I wanted it in the other way, I would have just clicked the cube first and the sphere second, and then also if I do size on the child, I can modify the size differently. So notice this is different than if I join them. If I join them, I can't modify them differently. Okay. They're also different objects, so I can texture them differently. If I do size, though, on the parent, then the child changes too. Okay. Again, let's say that I had a body and an arm, and I wanted to make both of them smaller. I could do that by modifying the parent. Now I can always disconnect that if I Shift and then Shift again, and then instead of Control P, I do Alt P. I can clear the parent. Okay. If I clear the parent, then I can move the body and resize that, and then I can go back and Shift and then Shift, or hold down Shift, click the second one, and then instead of Alt P, which clears the parent, I could do Control P, which makes the parent. So modifying things based on parent and children is important to save yourself some time in the long run. If everything is a separate object, oftentimes, once you start to modify that, it becomes really complicated. So there's a lesson on parent and children, and then the join feature too.